Today we are going to be making candy apples. This is a basic candy apple tutorial. Normally when I make my candy apples, I use 4 cups of sugar, 1 cup of water, and 1 cup of Karo. I no longer use Karo syrup because I've learned that for me, high sweet works better. So if you want to use Karo, you can dip your apples in the 4-1-1 method, 4 cups of sugar, 1 cup of water, 1 cup of Karo. To double your recipe, you just do 8 cups of sugar, 2 cups of water, 2 cups of Karo. Or if you want a full and a half, it will be 6 cups of sugar, 1.5 cups of water, and 1.5 cups of Karo. But today we are going to be using high sweet. Okay, this is how it came. I got it from Amazon. I will link the information on the page so that you guys can know it has the recipe here. I follow this recipe and I just double as needed. Because these are large apples, I'm probably gonna triple this because it honestly doesn't make, this recipe doesn't even make enough to dip 6 large apples. You could probably get like 4 with nice full coverage, maybe 5, depending on the size. So, we are gonna do, let me get, I'm just grabbing my sugar. Okay, so on the box it says 2 cups of sugar. So I'm gonna do 2, 4, 6 cups of sugar. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, make sure you have a big pot because I messed my stove up one time using a pot that wasn't big enough for a mix and it boiled all over my stove. Okay. It says 1/2 cup of water, but because we tripled the recipe, we're going to use 1.5 cups of water. Keep this right here. And instead of 1 cup of the high sweet, we're going to use 3 cups of the high sweet. And high sweet is used, it's better to use when it's really hot, when you have high humidity. For me, if you're having trouble like with sticky apples, you try to bag your apples, it gets stuck to the bag, or you leave it out and it starts to sweat, high sweet helps with that. It's better for people in high humidity in humid areas, okay? So I'm in Florida. So for me, it works for me. Let me grab a spoon. Move y'all back a little bit. Everything that you need will be listed below. So we're just gonna mix this up. And these apples, I'm especially using High Sweet for this because I'm shipping the apples. So I also have a class on how I ship the apples. So yeah, you don't want your apples to get to the customer all melted and non-edible. So I'm happy I switched over to High Sweet. Works way better for me. I could leave my apples out for hours and not have a problem bagging them. So we're just gonna mix this up. You wanna make sure you have a good candy thermometer. This is the one that I have, which also came from Amazon. Just make sure you get the mix mixed in really, really well. It may be a little thicker because you're using more dry ingredients than you are liquid ingredients, unlike when you use the Karo in the water. Okay, get it all mixed in. And as far as my cleaning method for my apples, I boil my water. I make sure the water is in a roiling boil. I dump the apples in for 10 seconds, mash them down to make sure they're completely submerged. And then after 10 seconds, I take them out. I clean these apples Friday. The uglier your apples are, the cleaner they actually are. I clean these Friday because they are bigger apples. And as you can see here, there's sap still on it. I don't know if you can see it, but there's sap still on it. So after you clean your apples, you want to make sure you wipe them down with a wet paper towel or something before you dip them, because that sap is what causes your candy to break down as well. If you guys want a video on how I clean my apples, I'll create one and upload it in this group as well. Okay. Some people add their candy mix before. I add mine after. It depends. Honestly, it could depend on what color you want. The longer it cooks, the darker it may get. So depending on what color you're using or what color you're going for, you can put it before. It's really a preference. But I do mine after, and I put my flavor in at 280. So I'm gonna cut this on to a medium heat. I'm gonna insert my candy thermometer, and you wanna make sure your thermometer does not touch the bottom of your pot, because if it touches the bottom of your pot, it will give you a false read. So you want it to be touching the mix, but not touching the bottom of the pot. And we're gonna cook this to 300 degrees. At 280, we're gonna add the flavoring oil. At 300, we're gonna take it off and we're gonna add the color. Again, we have 6 cups of granulated sugar. We have 1.5 cups of water and 3 cups of High Sweet in the pot right now. And we're gonna cook it to 300. I'll come back, I'll show you how I add my flavoring at 280. And I'll show you how to add the color at 300. And then after that, we will dip. After we dip, I'll show you how the apples look, you know, how you can touch them, how to bag them. I'll show you how I seal my apples now with this little gadget that I have. I'll tell you where I got it from. I'll insert that in the group as well. What else should you know? As far as pricing goes, I usually price my basic hard candy apples at $65 a dozen. Now that's no theme, no extra little designs, just me taking this apple right here, dipping it in the color, all 12 of them, $65. A lot of people may say that's a lot. I know people who charge more. I know people who charge less, but you want to charge your worth and you want to charge your time. And the customers that are for you will be for you. As far as theme goes, my theme starts at $75 a dozen. It depends on what theme you get, so the price can go up, but it will not go down. Coloring wise, now the $65 is for a basic color. If you want gold, gold is $75. If you want silver, silver is $75. Rose gold is $75. And I forgot what other color is $75. But like your blues, pinks, orange, greens, those are $65 a dozen. If you want to add bling sticks, it is an extra $10 per dozen. Sand and sugar, $10 per dozen. Because it's $5 for a half a dozen. What else? My gourmet apples, those depending on which ones you get, like the ones with the caramel and the chocolate and the nuts and all the good stuff, those are between $85 to $95 a dozen. They're more than likely going to be $95 a dozen if you get the whole shebang. I also have a video up on gourmet apples, so we'll go more into detail with the gourmet apples on that video if you purchase that tutorial as well. But as for this, what else? Oh, we can also cover packaging, where we get the packaging from, business credit. I'll cover all of that with you guys. Actually, what we're gonna do first is we're gonna let this boil. We're gonna get the apples dipped. Once we get through that and we start to package the apples, then we will get more into the packaging and where you can get your packaging from and the companies that you can order from in bulk. Okay, be back. Okay, so the temp has reached 280. So now that we're at 280, we're gonna add the flavoring oil. I add a whole dram. This is blueberry. Just dump it in, you don't stir it, don't mix it. Just dump it in and let it work. Okay. We should be to 300 soon. And then when we reach 300, we'll add the coloring. Okay. So we reached 300. All right. We reached 300. So I usually keep a cup right here with water in it, so that when I take my thermometer out, I could put it in the water. All right, we're gonna move over. We're gonna add my color. Now, another thing, when you add your color, too much coloring can seize your mix. So you don't want to add too much of it. because then you will seize your mix and it will be no good. Okay, whenever you add a solid color, you always want to go behind with a few drops of white, because if you don't add a few drops of white, then when you dip, it will be transparent and you'll be able to see through the color, and we don't want that. We want a nice solid color. So we're gonna mix this up. Make sure you scrape the sides down. And I'm using Wilton's Royal Blue. It comes in a pack of different colors. They're icing colors actually, but you could use them for your candy apples too. Add some more. Ooh. And if the color isn't deep enough, like maybe you want it to be a little darker and it's not coming out as dark as you want it, try adding a few drops of black to get it to where you want it to be. Just keep scraping down the sides too and get all that color mixed in before you continue to add more, because again, remember, too much coloring will seize up your candy mix. Also, after you dip your apples, you do not want to sit it back by the heat, because that will also break your candy down. It will make your candy sweat. You have to put it in a cool area. Make sure your house is nice and cool. Keep it in a cool area, or if you have a fan that you could use, do that, because you don't want to cause your candy to sweat. Okay, apple nice and dry. You're gonna take your pot, tip it over. You're gonna dip and you're gonna twirl and pick it up. Shake, 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 shake. I scraped the bottom of my apples. And I'm placing them over here in another area. I'll show you it after. But you want to hurry up and get all your apples dipped before your candy gets thick. And another thing is, you could keep the pot like on the heat to help keep your candy loose, so that it doesn't stiffen up on you too much or too fast. And these are some big apples. When I'm shipping, I usually try to use bagged apples because they're smaller, and oh Jesus, y'all don't do that. And it helps with the weight of the package to not be so heavy and to cost so much. But these are hand picked, so that's why they're so big. But I try using bagged apples. It helps a lot with the weight and the space and the shipping. These nice big apples I usually use for pickup orders, pickup party orders. Just tilt and dip, twirl. Try not to mess your stick up. Oh, my finger's so sore. Try not to mess your stick up. You don't want a messy looking apple. When you place it down, I'll place one down over here. When you place it down, you want to make sure you don't grow feet to the bottom of your apple. That's why I try to scrape the bottom real good. I don't rush to place it down like that, so that you keep a clean bottom. Ooh, y'all, my finger, Lord. And if you grow a bubble, just pop it. Like here, growing a bubble. Woo! I popped it, but don't do like I did. Do as I say, not as I do. Because, honey, use a toothpick. Because a candy burn is real, baby. They do not play, hunty. Them things hurt, okay? So if you never been burned by candy before, baby, don't look forward to it, okay? Because it's not what's up. Just try to hurry up and get through all your apples. Ooh, I'm getting bubbles, y'all. Try to cover it up. Don't let that air get into it when you dip it to avoid the bubbles. And if you pop it once it's dry, it's gonna leave a crack mark like this. It's gonna look like that, and you don't want that. So try to catch it before it dries up. Okay. Try to make sure the entire top is covered, because I hate to see an apple that's halfway covered. Let me get my toothpick. And see, I just popped that bubble the right way this time. Look, it's coming back. Just child's being stubborn, honey. I ain't got time. Okay. Clean the bottom. Last one. Dip. 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 Try to bring you close. Okay, and if you have leftover candy mix, let me show you one of the apples. This is the first one we did. This is the first one. Okay. got leftover candy mix. We got some strawberries laying around. Let me show you. Get you a strawberry. Okay. Pull them leaves up. You don't want candy mix all in your leaves, and you know, pull them leaves up, get you a strawberry, tilt and dip. Can you see? And pull it up and shake. Shake, shake, shake. Get all that off. Okay. And sit it down. And you drag it forward. See, I sat it down, but I slid it forward so that it doesn't grow the feet to the bottom. Okay? Because just because it's a strawberry doesn't mean it has to have the big old puddle on the bottom. We don't want the puddle. So when you do it, you slide it forward. Doesn't take long to dry. Boom. Candy strawberry. I got a bubble right here too. It's all right. Nice, shiny. You can see the shine, honey. You see the shine, boo. Ignore these bubbles, okay? Don't do that. Okay, it's clean, no feet to the bottom. Sit that thing down like that, pick it up like that, sit it back like that. See, if I had some grapes, let me see. My kids ate all the grapes, but if I had some grapes, I would have showed you some grapes. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get ready to bag. And then I will show you what I do, what I use, and we'll talk about packaging.